All right, guys, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. My name is Marcus, and I have Chad Fotheringham here with us. And today is the last call of 2017, which is absolutely crazy to say. But thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. And, I wanted to start. Today is a call where we're going to introduce you to Ken Jenson. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit of how maybe luck or the universe or whatever your belief system is. This is a story that I feel every time I think about it, every time we talk about it here, we feel like there was some kind of hand guiding this. I want to take it back to 2012. We had one franchise partner. And when you're a young franchise, you think about, you celebrate, you have one franchisee, and then you go, oh man, now what? How are we going to get number 2, number 3, number 4? And we were working extremely hard. We were a very young company. And then again, this is 2012. And Chad, I just wanted you to share the phone call that you got. It must have been around spring of 2012, right?
Yeah. And it was funny because right when I walked in your room today, I heard Ken Jenson laugh.
Yeah.
Today.
Just now, yeah.
You just heard Ken's laugh. That's what I got a call. I started talking to someone, and they started asking me about a franchise, and I heard that laugh, and I knew it was Ken Jenson. And Ken Jenson had been my youth leader growing up, and very good friend of the family, but I had not talked to him for probably 20 years. And when I heard that laugh, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Ken. And so we touched base, we talked, we caught up, and then within a day or two, Ken was in our office, and he became our second franchise partner.
And what I want you to realize is, you had not talked to Ken for
20 years.
20 years.
And what happened is we had someone who's in Northern California who was interested in the franchise, and somehow he kind of had talked to Ken and told him about Amada, and Ken was in the process of starting his own senior care company and called us to get more information on what we were doing. And we added for not talking for 20 years, we immediately caught up, and it was almost unbelievable that we found ourselves on the phone with each other that day. And then within a day or two, Ken was in our office, and we were franchise partners.
Yeah. There's something about that always makes my hair stand, that I always think about, when, if I may say so, but when good people come together for a great purpose, that somehow, some way, whatever your belief system is, that things are going to conspire to make it happen. And I can't think of any other reason why you and Ken got on the phone that day. And what's happened since then, there's two things I want to mention to you that are important to us. And one of them is revenues. So Ken goes out, he's our second franchisee ever. We're still trying to figure out, is this going to work as a franchise? Because we had one franchisee who was doing well. Ken goes out in his first year and he generates $974,000 in gross revenues. His first calendar year, I should say, in 2013. By his fourth year, Ken was generating $3.5 million in gross revenues in his fourth year. In his fourth year alone, I'm not talking about combined all the years. In his fourth year, $3.5 million, and he's gone beyond that. That's number one. And what it did for us is it allowed us to realize that the model does work throughout the country, right? That we could take an entrepreneur, a great entrepreneur, and he or she would be able to be successful. That was number one. The second thing that happened is all of our franchisees from that day forward would speak to Ken Jenson, because that's what you do when you start when you're thinking about a franchise, is you call the guys who are in. And I think what it did is when you speak to Ken, you get a couple of things. You get his caliber, who he is, the family man he is, the good man he is, the entrepreneur that he is. And it attracted people like Ken. That was something, I think, Chad, that we didn't really plan for. It just happened that the entrepreneurs we were able to attract because of Ken Jenson, because of his success and because of who he is, has absolutely changed our lives and has made the company we are today. I can't stress how amazing that was for us.
I'll say this, I think we were very fortunate and blessed to have someone like Ken, just not only because of his background in business, but more than anything because of his values. We actually came up with our company values after Ken was in the business with us. And he is three or four, or actually all of our values, but I would say three of those values came directly from who Ken is.
That's right.
And how he acts. When we talk about our first value, which is compassion and charity, when we talk about competitively driven to be the best, urgent in all things, farmer entrepreneur mentality, confidently humble, and actually we added a sixth value, and it was grateful.
That's
and
right.
That is Ken Jenson. So I think our company is structured around people who live their lives that way, and the people who decide to get into this business, if they have those natural values as part of their value system, they'll do very well. If they don't, then they shouldn't do the business. If they're looking at this business just because, there's 80 million baby boomers and there's a huge business opportunity, and the numbers look good, but they don't have those same values, they really shouldn't do it. Because what we found is that if you are that type of person that puts compassion and charity above other people first, and you really care about other people first, your business will explode and you'll be fine. But if you're really worried about yourself and you're a little more, maybe selfish, or you have ulterior motives to not help, more worried about yourself than seniors or caregivers, then you won't do well. So, we've been talking too much. I'd say we turn the time over to Ken and maybe let him
No,
talk.
that's only the first part of the introduction. There's a lot more to come. We're going to keep going, Ken.
No, I think what you really need to say is if you want to be successful in this business, you need to be old, bald, and fat.
I don't know about that, but I got to tell you, what's great about Ken is he was a prolific entrepreneur, started several businesses, and he also has 10 kids. Yes, 10. And an amazing entrepreneur. He is in Colorado Springs. And Ken, you were, what year were you awarded Home Care Company of Colorado?
Last year.
Last year.
So I want to just now pass over the time here of having Ken share a little bit about his experience, but definitely somebody that we are looking for folks just like Ken. So Ken, welcome to the call.
Thank you. So anyway, so what Chad said, go ahead. Are you going to
please go ahead.
No.
I will, but I want you to say what you were going to say just now.
Well, I was just going to say, I've been where everybody on this call is right now. I was trying to find the right company to align myself with to be able to do what I wanted to do. And I went and did discovery days. I attended discovery days with 3 different companies, probably the largest 3. And after spending 24 hours looking at what they had to offer, that would be 3 8-hour sessions, I realized, you know what, they didn't offer me anything that I wanted to be a part of. I wasn't excited about it. When I left the meeting, I thought, I can do better than that. So I went out and bought an agency in a box. It's currently for sale. They're $999 each. I will give anybody that wants a good deal, they can have my agency in a box. But that's what led me, literally, we had started down that road, and Chad, I heard somebody say, hey, you got to call this new company. It's called Amada. And, Chad and I hooked up, and literally I knew that I was with the right company. What we talked about was eye-opening for me, completely different. And it was so exciting, and it's been that way since I started. It has been an absolute, I won't say roller coaster ride because that shows a downward trend. It was more of a rocket ship ride. We started, bought our franchise, got going, and just have blown the doors off from the very first day. I love what I do, and it's been the greatest thing I've ever done. I've owned my own companies for, now probably almost 35 years. So owning a new company wasn't a big deal, but this industry is so exciting. The people we deal with are amazing. And some of my clients are former Miss USAs, former presidents of the U.S. Olympic Committee. I have 4-star generals. I have people that were in Pearl Harbor when the bombs started flying. And they're just an amazing, amazing generation. And so it's so much fun to be involved with them, and then also the opportunity to employ people. We currently have about 350 employees, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. I hope that this coming year provides as much growth as last year did, and we expect to grow between 25 and 40% this coming year. And that's kind of been our track record every year. We've almost doubled it almost every single year.
Hey, Ken, let me ask you this, because I think this is, you hit on some really important things. You went right to the clients that you take care of, and you started talking about some of the people you take care of. You tell me all the time, like, you tell me all the time, Chad, I love what I do. Tell me why you love what you do. You've had other really successful businesses before, like really successful businesses. What's the difference between this business and what other people do you think would feel the same way? Like, what are the traits that make you love it, and what are the things day to day that you do that you love?
Well, I'll give you an example. Last week, I got a call from a son who lives in Texas, and mom has dementia, and dad's been taking care of mom. They have two sisters that live out of state, so none of the kids live close by. Dad and mom got in a car crash about 3 weeks ago. Dad's in the hospital. Mom has full-blown dementia. She's at home. She's fine. And the family is in absolute panic mode. Absolutely do not know what they're going to do, whether he's going to have to sell his business in Texas and move home, whether the daughters are going to have to fly in and figure this thing out. They all live out of state. So the son calls me and says, Ken, I need to meet with you. We sit down, we start talking. Come to find out, they have long-term care insurance, and we're going to be able to take care of mom and dad for the rest of their lives with 24-hour care, and it's not going to cost the family one dime. The tears that were shed in the room as we sat there and talked how we would be able to provide care and provide the things that they needed for that family, they were beside themselves. He called his sister, and we talked for 20 minutes, and she was getting all choked up on the phone because she realized that their lives would continue and mom and dad would be fine. So I walk in, I do this almost every day. I walk into a situation where everybody's in crisis panic mode. And when I'm done, I walk out, we have a plan, everybody's calm, everybody knows what they're going to do, and the difference is so dynamic. It's amazing. And so I love it. I mean, I get to solve and resolve problems and issues every day on both sides, on the caregiver side and on the family side. And that just happened last week. So, I mean, that happens all the time to us.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, Ken? Like I get goosebumps because when you say that, I feel when I ran our business in Orange County, that was my favorite thing to do day in and day out, is go meet with new clients and sit with sons and daughters and explain what their options were, because they're like you explained it perfectly. They're at this point of crisis where they don't know what to do, and you come in and you're about the only person in the healthcare system who will sit down with them for an hour and explain all their options and tell them what home health is and what DME is, and talk about what the difference between non-medical home care versus home health, and explain what's in their long-term care insurance policy. I've been out in the field multiple times with Ken, and I see him, like, he has a very big organization now. How many employees do you employ now, Ken, in your office? Not caregivers, but just in your office.
18 in my office.
18 people. So Ken could have other people go out and visit with clients, and he could go out and he could have other people market. But Ken chooses to be the person that goes out and meets with those families. And I was the same way. When I got my business to the size that Ken's was, I did the same thing. I opted at that point to allow my office staff to do things, maybe some of the grunt work, I won't even say grunt work, but some of the harder, more difficult work that I didn't want to do anymore. And I would just go spend time with families day in and day out. It was so rewarding and so different than what I'd done in my first professional career for 10 years in pharmaceutical sales, that it was life-changing. And I'll be honest with you, to this day, I still miss doing that. And I see Ken in the field, and Ken does that day in and day out. It's awesome.
It's the best part of our job. I personally am not an operations guy. I remember when I went to training with Chad and Tafa, and this is before all the great training that they provide. It was just Chad and Tapa sitting in a room saying, okay, what should we tell you guys about now? But we talked about sales, and I was totally plugged in. I was totally plugged in to sales and long-term care insurance and VA and attendance and all the things that we do. But the second they started operations, I pulled out my laptop and started playing solitaire because I am not an operations person.
That is a true story. That's not a metaphor. That's actually not a metaphor, guys. That is a true story.
That is true. Hey, Ken,
even today.
Can we go back to that for a second?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
No, you go for it. Even today, if you were to say, Ken, I will give you $1 million if you can log into ADLware, find us a client, and get us the power of attorney, I would look at you and laugh because just the other day, I had a couple of schedulers sick, and so I was in my office, and so I went upstairs, and I said, hey, let me help. So they said, okay, because the two of them were going crazy, and I said, I can help. And so I turned on the computer, and I realized I really have no idea. So I turned on Fox News and was scrolling through that and answering phones because that operations is not what I do, and I recognize that as a weakness that I have. Yeah. Let's go back to your strength because I think it's really important for people to understand. Ken is really good at building relationships and connecting with people. I think that's one of his greatest strengths. He's probably one of the best people I've ever met at being able to build connections and relationships with people. And really, it takes that type of relationship building to be good at this business. Can you speak to that, Ken, and talk about what your work looks like to build those relationships? How much time do you put in doing that, and how important that is to grow this type of business?
So I think everybody needs to understand that marketing is the driver of this business. If you're not a marketer, then do not buy a franchise. I'm sorry, Marcos. I know I shouldn't have said that.
No, that's exactly right.
Marketing is the lifeblood. And so if you're an operations guy, then go hire a marketer. If you're a marketer, go hire an operations guy. You cannot do everything. It's impossible. There are 130 or 140 now companies in my area that do exactly what I do. And most of them stop between 20 and 25 clients because they try and do everything. They try and do all different aspects of their business. I want to put this in perspective. Last month, we signed 36 new clients. Last month. So we sign more clients every month than most of my competition has full time. And it's because I'm willing to let other people do other parts of my business. And you have to do that. I think that if right out of the gate, I would say hire an operations person because that way you don't have to worry about scheduling and all those other things. If you are a marketer, I market every single day. Every single morning from 8 to 10, I'm out doing my marketing. And my goal with marketing is I know that every day in Colorado Springs, there are probably 6 to 8 people that are looking for a home care company. I will never reach all those people, but I can get to the people that know those people. So I've built a team of hundreds of people that know Ken Jenson and Amada Senior Care. And when they hear long-term care insurance or aid and attendance, or they hear I need home care, they think of me. And so I get phone calls every single week from people that I don't know saying, hey, I got a referral from so-and-so, and they said, you're the guy. I have tried to figure out what resources I can help families with. And whether they sign up with Amada or not, I help them find resources to take care of them, their parents or their loved ones. And so those resources, my competition has no clue. So they don't know what those resources are, and they don't try and help families. They're always trying to sign up families. The other advantage is because I own Amada, I can look somebody eye to eye, face to face, and say, trust me, I will take care of your mom and dad. And that is such a huge benefit.
Yeah, I'm going to just confirm what Ken said. I think if you're looking at a business and you want to hire employees that are going to run all your business at all times, and you're going to be an absentee owner from day one, this isn't a good business for you. You really have to have the passion and drive to be the person in your business day in and day out. Now, that doesn't mean you always have to be in the operations like Ken said, but you have to be the face of your business, and you have to be the marketing side of your business and really establish those relationships. We have seen people try to come in and hire salespeople and do things and they take a step back. You know, Toph and I, even at a certain point, we had salespeople who were doing a lot of our sales calls. But if you don't establish those relationships from the get-go and you don't like establishing relationships, this probably isn't the best business for you.
Yeah. Hey, Ken, I wanted to, here's a picture that I think is a goofy, funny picture. This was it was an outtake. We were taking pictures of our franchisees at our conference in 2014, and Ken photobombed Andre and Cindy Pegas, who are our franchise partners here in LA. You've become a mentor, and you just kind of took on that role. You've mentored almost all of our franchise partners. Many of them fly out and come to meet with you. You have gone out and met with them, which is just amazing. And so take this mentorship that you've done, and what's the advice you'd give to these folks who are on the line, who are listening to you about this business, as far as how hard is it? What are the difficult parts of it? I know it's a 5-part question, and what do you see is usually the thing that holds back a franchise partner from finding success you have as quickly as you have?
So the first thing I would say would be, you're all invited to come spend a week with me. And if you want to buy your franchise and then come out here, and literally you are welcome to come and see exactly how I do what I do. And from the get-go, from the very beginning to signing up clients and see how much fun we have. I love what I do, and it's very evident, and we have a lot of fun all the time. So that would be the first thing. So if you buy an Amada franchise, you are welcome to come out. If you don't buy an Amada franchise, don't even call me, because I've had people try and do that too. I'm not really interested. But I think that when you can see it boots on the ground and you can see exactly how I do what I do, most people say, "Oh my gosh, I can do that so easy." And I mean, that's the goal, is to show you how easy this job can be if you do it on a daily basis. I will tell you that for the first 2.5 to 3 years, I don't think I ever spent a single night out of my area. That's not to say that it's not to say that I couldn't control my schedule. Marco said I have 10 children. I've coached all my kids in Little League baseball and also basketball. So I've coached Little League for 32 years and basketball for 34 years. And so I never missed a game. I never missed a practice because of my franchise. But I always, there are days when I work on Saturdays. There are times when I work on Sundays. And I work every day during the week. My life is a lot easier now. I have an assistant who can sign up clients like I do, but that's rare. I think that you brought up a really good point. If you're going to be the operations guy and hire salesmen, the danger is what you're really doing is creating your own competition, and because they will leave you and they will form their own company, and you will be teaching your competition exactly what you do. So you protect the sales side because that's all the information. There's only one poor person in my whole organization that understands what I do from top to bottom. One person. And we have over 350 caregivers. So, we're growing, and you have to be very careful. I think that it is a job that it takes daily attendance. To start, it's a 5 to 6 to 7 day a week job. Even now, if a client calls me at 6 o'clock at night and they need somebody to go sign them up tonight, I do that all the time. I literally do that all the time. If somebody calls me on a Saturday, I have no problem going to sign up a client on Saturday, nor Sunday. If it is what it is. And the reason we've grown is because we are very responsive. I answer every single phone call that I get. If somebody calls me and I'm in an intake, I call them back. And so there are times where I'll be in an intake for, an hour and a half. I'll come out and I'll have 15 missed calls. And I call every single one of them back because nobody else does that. No other company does that. They all, I don't know why they don't, but they don't. Because I'll call somebody back and they'll say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your quick response. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's been an hour since these people called. But yeah, that's what I try and do. And I try and meet with people on the very day they call me. So if somebody calls me today at 2 o'clock, my immediate answer is, can we meet tonight? Because I want them to see that we're very responsive and we'll take care of their parents.
That is so important. Guys, I want to remind you, for those of you who are on the call, this is really your opportunity to ask questions. It is 10:26, so if a couple things you can do, I should have told you this earlier, but raise your hand and I can unmute you. You can ask a question live. What's great about asking a question live is you can ask a follow-up. You can ask anything you want from Ken. Nothing is taboo. You can ask whatever you want. If you don't want to raise your hand, then you can type in your question on the question box. This really is a call for you guys to be able to get to know Ken and ask anything that you want. Right now, there's no questions in the question box. I think we've just been kind of going through questions here for you guys, but please make sure you type in your question or raise your hand. Raise your hand, and you'll be able to be unmuted and ask the question live. So Ken, tell me a little bit about the differentiation factor. We always go back to the fact that it's not just about the home care, that you also need to be able to solve problems for families. We talk about a differentiation with long-term care insurance and VA. Can you talk about how realistic is that differentiation process, not just in Denver, but what you've seen throughout the country? Is that really a thing that we differentiate in long-term care insurance and VA, and that does actually matter to the market out there?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story. When I first started, there's this government office called the Area Agency on Aging. And the head guy there, his name is Kent Matthews, and I saw him. I was literally 1 week old. I'd just gotten back from training. I was all excited. And we went to this mixer for some senior event. And I saw him, and I said, Kent, my name's Ken Jenson. I am a new owner of Amada Senior Care. I would like to meet with you. And he looked at me and literally totally blew me off. I mean, I looked at him, I thought, dude, nobody blows me off that bad. It was hilarious. I thought, oh my gosh. And he totally blew me off. He literally said, that's nice, and walked away. And so I thought, oh my gosh. So 3 months later, I finally tracked him down again. He was walking into another event, and I was walking in too, and I stopped. I said, Ken, I'm Ken Jenson from Amada Senior Care. I really, really want to meet with you and tell you about our company. And he said, Ken, at this point, this was 5 years ago, he says, there are 86 home care companies in Colorado Springs. He says, I will give you 10 minutes tomorrow morning. If you are late, you lose your 10 minutes. Do not be late. Gave me his address. So the next morning I show up, and I was 10 minutes early because I did not want to be late. He walked in, and he says, all right, tell me your story. So we sat down, and for the next hour and a half, talked about Amada and who we are and what we do. At the end of an hour and a half, he gave me a contract to do they would provide vouchers for our services. And he looked at me and says, you guys are going to be the most successful company in Colorado Springs. This is from an outsider. That's how big the differentiator is, Marcos. It's significant. And nobody knows what we do. Nobody understands how we do what we do. And I keep spreading the rumor how it's just a lost leader and it's a disaster and we never get paid. And all my competition says, yeah, they're crazy to do what they do. And I smile all the way to the bank, and I love what I do. It's the greatest thing in the world.
And why do you think, what is your theory of, because I remember, if I back up a little bit, I remember Chad, back in 2011, we're thinking about franchising, and he's explaining to me the differentiation that we focus on. And I was like, wait, that's the difference. You're telling me that in this whole country, Nobody else is smart enough to go and do that and actually focus and do what's right for the family, advocate for the family, get the claims done and all that. So why is that, Ken? Why are they not doing it?
Because it takes a little bit more work. It takes a little bit of risk. But what they don't, I mean, I don't know why they don't do it. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world to be able to sit down with a family and they sit there and tell me, Ken, you're the first of the next 5. We're going to interview you 5 companies. And I always say, that's awesome.
Right.
I said, I would only ask one thing. What I share with you today is what my company does. I would hope that you would judge each one of us on what they bring in as their sales pitch. I can't tell you how many times people say, you know what, we're just going to cancel all the other interviews. We don't even want to talk to the other companies. And if they don't do that, 100% of the time, I get a call usually within a week, and they say, okay, we chose you. I have never lost. And I think part of it is because I'm not a salesman. I'm not selling. I'm providing information and resources for families, and they're blown away because nobody else does what we do. They put the hard press on. You got to sign with us today, because they know if they leave that house, they're not getting called back. I get called back all the time because people know that what we do is unique and different, and they appreciate that.
And I'll say this. I think also it's something that Ken said before. I think in many cases we're sitting down with the family for an hour, and obviously the large majority of our revenue as a business comes through home care or caregivers in their homes or in their assisted living or wherever they may be. And we know that's our revenue, but probably 80% of what we talk about is not just caregivers. It's we go through their financial planning. We find out, are you a veteran? Do you have long-term care insurance? You know, what are your socialization needs? Are you a social person? Do you want to be at home with a caregiver? Do you want to go to an assisted living? In many cases, we're giving them resources. We're giving them resources of home health. We're giving them resources of DME. We're giving them resources that don't necessarily lead to our revenue. Ken even said this at the beginning of the call. A lot of what he does and what he gives to people are outside of what we do. And a lot of our kind of consulting process as we sit down with the families is asking them questions above and beyond just a caregiver. And so once we find out, and like Ken said, it does take a little bit more effort to look at a long-term care insurance policy and know every single dark corner of that policy and take on the risk of claiming on that policy for the family. Not most home care companies will not do that because they don't know it well enough, and they get turned down on a regular basis because they don't know it well enough. And I think we Ken is a perfect example. We taught him the base of long-term care insurance. If any long-term care insurance agent in the country were to ask Ken a question about long-term care insurance, I can guarantee you Ken knows more about long-term care insurance and those policies than any agent who sells it. Anyone. And so we've built such an expertise in these different areas of VA. Another good example is the VA aid and attendance. Ken, how many people have you helped get qualified for the aid and attendance benefit?
Between Natasha now it's over 600.
And a lot of those people, they don't even come to Ken for care. Ken does that because he cares about people, but he becomes such a resource to the referral sources to give this business out that they know Ken really cares. They know that half those people that he helps to get the benefit will probably not use them because they're going to hire their own son or daughter or maybe their own private caregiver because it's less expensive and they may not have the money and they need more levels of care. And some of them may come with him, but he doesn't do it because he wants the business. He does it because he just likes to help the people. And the referral sources see this and they give him so much other business that he can't even fulfill it all. Is that true, Ken?
Yeah, and what's really awesome is in this last 2 to 3 weeks, I've had referral sources call me with either moms or dads or personal family friends, and they personally call me and say, Ken, I know that I can refer this to anybody, but I want them to be taken care of. Will you please help me? And all 3 of those cases, it's been amazing to sit down with those families and then call back that referral source and say, hey, we got your friend set up. We're going to be taking care of them. We've got they had a long-term care insurance policy, so it's all going to be covered. And they're going, oh my gosh. So it doesn't even cost the family any money. And most people don't even know about those things.
Hey guys, I got a couple questions here. Guys, thank you so much. Ever since I mentioned the questions, you guys are coming in with them. If you have multiple, Chris, great to see you on the call. I sent you the unmute pin. If you are willing to put your pin in, I'd love to unmute you because you have like 3 or 4 questions that are just phenomenal. I'd love to have you ask them live. I'll give you just a few minutes to think about that if you want to do it, or else I'll ask them for you. But a question from Don. What kind of business experience did you have, and did it relate to the Amada system and process?
So I started off as a stockbroker back in the 80s. I am really old. Most of you weren't born in the 80s. But then I owned my own I owned a lighting company. We did energy efficient lighting in Southern California. And then I owned a construction company that did military housing all over the country. At one time, we had 9 bases going from Virginia all the way to California. And we did construction. So we did rewiring of electrical and plumbing and drywall, painting, carpet. We did the whole thing. And so that's where I came from to come here. I literally went from construction background to Amada Senior Care. In the construction, when I was doing construction for military families, I discovered 2 things about myself that I thought were really important. I loved working with families. I loved working with the families, helping them figure out what they wanted, what they needed. That was awesome for me. And then the second thing I really enjoyed was employing people. I loved giving people the opportunity to get a job. And so when I first started Amada, I did all of the hiring and I did all of the intakes. So I was crazy busy doing both of those until we got so big that I couldn't. And so I gave up the hiring and hired an HR person. But so it had nothing to do with senior care. To be brutally honest, I did not know this industry even existed 3 months before I opened my doors. I had no concept of senior care and how that worked. I didn't even know it was in an industry. But man, it's been the greatest thing I've ever done. I have enjoyed this more than any other job I've ever had, and I love it.
That is great to know. You know, a lot of you guys are either from medical device or pharmaceuticals because we've targeted you guys, but not so much that your hospital experience is going to be what sets you apart, because eventually I think what Ken is talking about is going to carry you long term, right? Your dedication, who you are, and the marketing of it. But yeah, Ken, you had no actual medical device or pharmaceutical experience in your background at all, correct?
None.
Yeah. So I think that's good to know. By the way, there's a question here from Chris was asking, it can take up to 7 months in his state to be able to get licensed. Can you talk a little bit about, you went through licensing. Were you able to maximize your time between applying for your license and getting your license?
Yeah, it was one of those things I was just trying to learn. I mean, I had no concept, you guys. I'd never walked in a hospital. I didn't even know the difference between a Medicaid facility and a Medicare facility. I had no idea about any of that. So it was kind of learning. It was like learning by fire hose. You know, I knew about employing people, but I didn't know anything about anything else. I knew about running the company and owning the company, but that was about it. So, yeah, that's kind of, you know, I spent that time trying to learn what this whole gig was about and how it would work. Yeah.
And you've coached a lot of our franchise partners, and for some of them it is like a 9-month or 6-month. I think somebody, Jay Mann in Virginia, took him 12 months. And I don't know if you've had feedback from them, but I think for a lot of them, you can use it effectively because you can start to learn your market, talk to people, socialize with folks. Any comments about that? What would you suggest for somebody who is going to face 7 to 12 months in licensing?
Come visit me. We'll have fun. You will love it. You will learn exactly
right.
how I do what I do.
It's just more time to spend with Ken, right?
There you go. No, I mean,
That's
yeah,
right.
it would be one of those things that you need to, I mean, yeah, you know, I don't know what some of the rules say that you can market. Some places say you can't even market. Some places say
Right.
that you can do person. You know, there's a lot of things that you can try and do during that period of time to make, once you hit the ground, to hit it running.
Awesome. Now, another question that Chris asked, I think is a really good one, might be in a lot of people's minds. What is stopping the local hospital systems or even the larger healthcare systems from just taking over the home care services and employing all that and putting all the home care businesses out of business?
Because it's a nightmare, and they don't know how to wade through it.
Yeah.
I meet with assisted living places, or independent living places that have their own independent home care companies inside their buildings. And my first question is, let me take over all your home care, and then you can quit losing money. And they always look at me like, how do you know we're losing money? I said, because you have 15 clients. It's impossible to make money with 15 clients. And so it's, you know, it is what it is. We are experts at what we do because we're so large. Nobody in Colorado Springs has the concept of having 320 clients. They do not understand that.
Yeah.
And so we take everything to the next level. It allows us to do a lot of different things. We have offices in 7 different facilities or communities that are assisted living, independent living, and memory care. 7. There are 7 companies that love us because we take that off their plate, and they don't have to lose money to take care of their residents. We take care of them.
Yeah, it is. And it's so crazy how you think that it's a similar business, staffing a therapist, 2 days a week for 45 minutes, and staffing a caregiver who's going to be in the home 24/7. I mean, those couldn't be any more different, right, Ken?
Exactly. The other issue is when we have a call off, I have 350 employees that can answer that, respond to it, and go fill in that call off. A hospital doesn't have that resource that I have. A hospital has.
And you mean a call off as in somebody called in sick, right? Like a caregiver calls in sick or doesn't show up, right?
Exactly. Where a hospital, they have to overstaff to make sure that they don't miss a visit. I just send out a mass text.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because, hospitals are building their own home care divisions. Skilled nursing, they are already doing it. It's not if they do, it's they are, but it's not their business. It's not what they are focused on. It doesn't really fit in that model, and we don't believe that it long-term will fit in that model. Great question, Chris. And then he had another one. I'm going to bring it. A great question too. The other one that I think a lot of people think about is wages, right? So you have activist states or cities where they're trying to bring minimum wage up and all of that. And it doesn't just affect home care, but can you give sort of your feedback on what you're seeing with wage and hour and what are your thoughts for the future?
So we made a decision a long time ago to pay more than our competition. And so where our competition was paying $8 an hour, we started at $10. And now that minimum wage has been raised to $9 an hour, we're still at 10 to 12. So wages are, you're just going to have to realize that you're going to have to charge more. Because we do long-term care insurance, it allows us to charge more. And so it's a pretty simple, we have never had issues with finding caregivers or getting the right amount of caregivers to be employed. We try and take care of our caregivers. We're now looking at 401ks for our caregivers. We offer health insurance. We offer different like AFLAC and those kind of things. Anything we can do to help our caregivers feel like we care about them, because we do. They're the face of our business.
That's right. Yeah, they are. Tafa used to tell me, your clients will come and go. We love them, but they will come and go. The people who really are the ones that are your net worth, that are your value, and who you need to pay attention to is those caregivers. They're everything.
Right.
Don, very good question from Don here. And actually, Chris was asking me this the other day too. So this whole idea of starting with home care and then going up the continuum and adding the medical care, right? So starting to go toward health, home health, and things like that. We mentioned that by your fourth calendar year, you generated $3.5 million. You talked about the crazy growth you're still going through. What are your thoughts on that? And I don't know if there's a right or wrong here, but your thoughts on going from home care to then adding the medical side.
Well, you have to be careful because a lot of your referrals come from the medical side. And so you want to be careful that you're not going to X out all of your referral sources because you decide you want to make, money on that side. There are ways to do medical and to be able to make it work, but you have to be careful that you're not going into competition with, the exact people that are referring you your clients. So that's kind of something you have to think very, very strongly about.
Don asked if he comes see you, will you take him skiing?
Don, I used to love to golf. I mean, love. I've golfed every great golf course in the world. I've been to St. Andrews. I've been to Pebble Beach. I've golfed pretty much. If it's in the top 100, I'll bet I've hit 50% of them. I have not golfed for 5 years. So
yeah,
skiing's fun, but I just love what I do. I love what I do. Chad and I went back to the NFL meetings in Florida, and we had an opportunity to golf on a top 20 golf course, and we looked at each other and said, let's not. It was hilarious because it isn't what it used to be for me. So, yeah, no, I won't take you skiing, but I'll show you a bus where you can go, or you can Uber it.
You can Uber it. Yeah, he'll tell you exactly where to go. Hey, Don, thanks for the levity there and the joke. That's pretty cool. And he said, man, Candy, you're a true testament to the brand, and I couldn't agree more, Don. Thank you for that. But Don had another a question about, and a couple other folks here talked about Amada support and training. Could you talk a little bit about that? I guess, what can be expected from Amada's support and training?
Okay, so I'll give you another story. A buddy of mine lives within 5 miles of my house. And when I started looking at doing this, he came to me and said, hey, Ken, I owned a home care company. He was currently a plumber, and he owned a home care company, and he built his home care company to about 75 clients. And then he sold it to a competitor. And so he said, you should just follow my model, and you can pay me your royalties, and I'll teach you everything I know. Well, as we went through the discovery process with him, he, after his first year, he had 3 clients. After his second year, he had 15 clients. After his third year, he had about 35 clients. And after his fourth year, he had 75 clients. And that's when he sold. He had a 5-year non-compete, so he had to stay outside the business for 5 years. So he wanted me to join his company and do exactly what he did. And this was before I met Chad. And so I was thinking, I don't know if I want to do that. I didn't really, he wasn't that impressive. And I thought, I don't know. So anyway, I decided to go with Amada. And I think after our first year, after our first year, I know we billed $100,000 a month in our very first year, within our first year. Because I was so excited. I remember calling Chad and saying, Chad, we hit $100,000 this month. And it was like, I had only been a franchise for less than a year. So I was like pumped. So anyway, my buddy started another company and started doing home care. And so one of our office people decided to leave us and went over to him. And he was only about 6 months behind us. And so she called back to some of my office staff and said, oh my gosh, I can't believe I came over here. They have 4 clients and they've been in business for a year. So does Amada make a difference? It absolutely makes a difference. I was brand new, had no concept of this industry, had no concept of anything, and within a year was billing well over $1 million a year. He had been in the business for 4 years, and after a year had 4 clients. We see him all the time, and it's a little bit of a sticking because he can't understand how we're doing what we do. He has no concept of the camaraderie. I have friends in Amada that if I get stuck with a problem, I can call them and they've dealt with it. They can call me and we can discuss stuff and we can figure out stuff. We've literally revitalized a lot of the things that where Amada started that now are just common things, that practices that our franchisees practice because of the growth and the experience that the other 100 franchise owners are having. And so you're not just getting the wisdom of 2 people that did this for 10 or 12 years. You're getting the wisdom of hundreds of people that really understand what we do and how we do it. And, you know, if you're having a bad day and something went wrong, you can always call me. I am always on my phone. And I will answer anybody's phone call any time of the day and help if I can.
That is so cool. Well, we are coming up to the hour, guys. It's 10:52. So it's Christmas season. There's a lot going on for everybody. And in fact, I want to tell you guys, we have had everyone who started the call with us is still here, Ken. No one's dropped off. So I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time to hear what we're passionate about. Every time people take an hour to sit here and talk to us, we're so incredibly grateful. Ken, thank you so much for doing this call. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you guys. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call me anytime. And I'll answer any other in-depth questions, literally anytime I can.
Awesome. Let me give you guys just a couple of dates here to keep in mind. If you're going through our discovery process, I recognize a lot of the names there, but some of the names I don't. In the chat box, you can see there the number for Tim Valencia. Make sure you reach out to Tim and go through your discovery process. We also have Discovery Days coming up in January, on January 11th and January 18th. We have Discovery Day. We have folks from across the country that are coming out to see us, so you'd get to join us. But before you come out, you have to go through a process, right? You need to be ready to come out, feel like it's the right thing. So we always want to keep you updated of what Discovery Days are. So just January 11th and January 18th. And let's end it here. Ken, thank you. Can't thank you enough. Have a great Christmas. Are you staying the whole family's coming home, right?
Yep. Everybody will be here.
Just great. So all 10 kids will be flying into Denver. Are they home already?
10 kids, 10 grandkids, and a bunch of wives and husbands.
That is awesome. Oh, by the way, you know what I forgot to mention? One of your sons works with you now, right?
Yeah, he's my office manager. He graduated with his doctorate in neurology at Baylor Medical University, and was living on a boat in Galveston Harbor because he's so smart. He had no debt. And I called him after my office manager quit and said, Danny, I need you to come run my office. And he called me the next day and said, I'm in. And he drove home, and he's been running the office for 2 years now. It's been a great addition.
That is so cool. Well, guys, again, so Ken, thank you. And everybody, thank you so much for being on. We hope you have a wonderful, beautiful Christmas. We're so thankful for you and thankful for your interest. And sincerely, we really wish you a great 2018. If we don't talk to you from now until then, we've all started something in our lives. Ken started Amada. And I think this is a great opportunity. Whatever it is you start, I hope that whatever it is, that 5 years later, you can talk like Ken does about what he does, right? Because I think that's our purpose in life, right? Is to find what we were put on earth to do, and that it brings you that kind of satisfaction. And if it's Amada or whatever the heck it is, I think from Ken and I, we both hope that you're able to find what that is, and that this is the year that you get it started, right, Ken?
Yeah. Good luck. Merry Christmas.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.